I am Jeff Foxworthy, and welcome to Gamekeeper Podcast. If you want to learn more about farming for wildlife and habitat management, then, buddy, you are in the right place. Join the Gamekeeper crew direct from Mossy Oak Land Enhancement Studio as they discuss the latest wildlife and habitat management practices, news, and, of course, hunting. There's no telling what you'll learn, but I'm going to tell you, I bet it's interesting. Enjoy.
Here we go. We're live in 3, 2, 1.
All right, everybody, it's January.
It is 2026.
We're thinking about ducks. We're thinking about deer. It's kind of post-rut here.
Yeah, kind of winding down a little bit. I don't know. Just depends on where you are.
Odd year. The whole
year.
masting event, I think, has changed how our deer are moving. Toxie, are you hearing or seeing? It just didn't seem like people are killing as many deer as they normally do.
It's pretty widespread. Mm-hmm. I mean, I see what little bit I can look at, digital messages or a little bit of social media stuff, but in several meat processors, they're like way below anything they've taken in this time of year. Taxidermists way below anything they've taken in this time of year.
Yeah, and everybody's blaming it on the acorns.
I mean,
them being in the woods.
Yeah,
it's something pretty widespread, and that would be the only thing I can think of. We have had warmer weather, but that's happened before. Mm-hmm. That does slow them down, but
it's still dry.
I think it has something to do. I mean, pretty much far and wide from just, again, my sample size of people, they have a greatly reduced amount of pictures of mature deer at like a feeder. Mm-hmm. It's like they're avoiding that because they got plenty of other food.
Yeah, I think that.
But not the does or little bucks, but the mature bucks.
Young does,
they're not getting any pictures. They are seeing someone they go hunting that they had no idea were there because they were out in front of the cameras. Mm-hmm. But that's the year we're having.
So look, let me set the table. We'll get our guests introduced. But we've got Toxie's here, Lanny's here. Dudley is sick. And I know Dudley wanted to be here because, these are two of Dudley's favorite words. Bird hunting. He loves talking about bird hunting. So we've asked our best bird hunting expert, Mr. Bill Gibson, to sit in on this podcast.
There it is.
Welcome, Mr. Bill.
I don't know about that. I do like upland.
Yes, we all do.
Yeah, we love bird hunting.
So look, let me turn. We've got a guest who's all the way from the University of Rhode Island.
It's a long way from here.
He is Dr. Scott McWilliams. Welcome, Scott.
Hey, welcome, everybody. Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yeah, we're excited to be here. We've never talked to anybody from Rhode Island.
I don't think we have.
No.
Yeah.
Didn't even know there was a university up there.
You probably did and just didn't know it.
Do y'all play football up there, Scott?
Oh, yeah.
They actually won their conference this year, but it was like the first time in decades. So you wouldn't hear us for football. You'd hear us for basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
How about
Pretty
that?
good basketball team.
Yeah. Well, okay. I'm going to go back to Scott and we'll get him properly. We'll tell a little bit about him. But I wanted to ask, blood on the biologic. Lanny, what are you seeing? What have you heard?
I do have. Look, I've got a young fella here, and I'm not even sure if this is his first year, but if this is his first year, he has started out with a bang, for sure. But his name is Levi Miller. His dad's Steve Miller, and he harvested this great deer very close to in Greene County, Alabama. Mm-hmm. So yeah, hitting the horns for him for
great
sure.
hunting over there.
Yeah, great hunting over there. Check him out.
They kill some big non-typical
big old
deer.
deer.
It
Check
really
him
is.
out. Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
Nice work.
Yeah. Toxie, I think some of your clan is.
Yeah, well, just one. We all hunted during the holidays. I finally got in a tree a time or two, and Daniel, Neil, Andy, we all got out of the hollies down there, and we had one family member that scored, and it was my 9-year-old granddaughter, Abby.
What a deer.
What
And
a deer.
She killed a stud.
I mean, a
real
stud.
Yeah.
What that deer weigh?
He lost some weight. He probably a little over 2.
Yeah.
He wasn't real long. But he was such a mature deer. You could not tell where the neck stopped and the shoulder started. The neck was so big.
Mm-hmm. Big rack.
she's
really big, yeah.
impressive.
Beautiful, beautiful deer.
I'm expecting that one's probably on its way to the Texas.
Yeah.
Yep.
Down there, White Horse.
Buddy Tom at White Horse is working on it as we speak.
Yeah. All right.
Richie, what about the Davenport kids?
We're still working on it. We're getting there. We've been out in the woods. Same thing. It's just been slow for us too, for a lot of folks, and but we're still sticking with it.
Mm-hmm. Never give up. You're not gonna if you don't go.
I'll tell you what I'm experiencing. I'm doing my best to put my daughter on some deer, and I'm getting the,
I'm in the same boat with you, Bobby.
that one's not big enough.
This sounds like my season completely.
Hey,
And I'm even encouraging. You sure,
Bobby?
Yeah.
Bobby. Apple does not fall far from the tree,
I guess.
Mr. Trophy Hunter. So you get what you reap, what you sow, dude.
But it's not in my genes. And
No, yours. You're definitely Mr. Meat Hunter, like Cuz. and-
Yeah, my oldest one is turning into. I think he's following Uncle Bobby's footsteps a little bit.
But haven't you already got one, Bobby?
She did get one.
Yeah,
the first
yeah.
weekend. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so she's being picky.
So
She gets one more, and she's being picky about it. All right, so look, guys,
There's always one more.
there always is, yeah. But they have been few and far between to
this
see.
is the time of year that just happened to us that deer you had no idea about show up.
That's showing up. That's right.
Or deer you've been watching all year disappear. It just seems to happen the very tail end of either late winter food running out or the end of the rut. They can't find one and they go far and wide looking for one. type
I'd
of
rather
deal.
hunt post rut than
That's when stuff.
anytime. Yeah,
That's when crazy stuff happens.
when
It
crazy
seems,
stuff
you know.
happens. And the horns tend to work. Yeah. So
All right, Scott, we're going to look at you. Let me read a little bit about your bio. You are just a very, very educated guy. So, Dr. Scott McWilliams is a professor of wildlife ecology and physiology at URI. Lanny, you know what that stands for?
University of Rhode Island.
And he is a dedicated conservationist.
URI.
He received a PhD in wildlife ecology from the University of California. That's kind of surprising.
That's a long way out there.
And in animal ecology from Iowa State. Got his BA in biology from Hiram College in Ohio. I probably mispronounced
So he just
that.
kind of made his way back.
He went over there and came back and in the middle too.
Got in the car and drove back and stopped and got a couple of PhDs on the way.
Sounds like he's in hitting the flyways to me. You know, he's kind of
really into
hitting the
birds.
flyways. Yeah.
Would that be fair to say that you were just really, really into birds?
Oh yeah,
Feathers.
from a very early age, growing up in Ohio. And it's not too far from the truth to say that I was picking flyways as I went across and back.
See,
Yeah, and I think this is probably worth pointing out. He is a fellow of the American Ornithological Society. Now, that sounds...
that's got something to do with birds.
I know what that is. Yep.
And then when the Deepwater Horizon spill happened,
Oh, yeah.
he was one that they called in to, hey, help us protect the birds.
Oh wow!
How about that?
Well, thank you for your service.
I bet he's on the Dawn dishwasher detergent All-American team.
I have no investment in that company. Yeah.
A very classic ad.
They got some great ads about
They sure
taking
do.
oil off of wild
critters,
birds. Yeah.
wildlife. That's right.
Yeah. Scott, so we've asked you here to talk about woodcock. We don't know much about them. We've all probably encountered them and not a lot of time. I mean,
Yeah.
we've killed a couple, but
Yeah.
they're a really neat bird. And we hear more and more people. We've had guests when we're talking upland birds, and woodcock gets brought up a lot. It really does. And it sounds like that it's an emerging game bird species
Sure.
for a lot of people.
Yeah, we're hearing. I think the legacy of quail hunting here, you know, is we all remember our fathers and grandfathers quail hunting, and you know the thought of having a bird out there that you can go out and flush and shoot's pretty neat.
Yeah, so it is a very popular game bird, and I think it's increasing in popularity. Certainly the number of hunters in the Northeast has increased. Populations nationwide are still in decline, so there's a lot of interest in trying to figure out how to manage habitat. Most of that is thought to be related to the loss of young forests in most of our systems. So there's a lot of effort trying to increase habitat in the Northeast. It's been pretty successful, and that's increased the populations. It's still need to do more, but I think that when there's more birds on the landscape, there's more hunters they'll get recruited to hunt.
100%.
So you wouldn't find these birds in like what we think of typical quail cover, would you?
So they have to be near wetlands, whether it's along river corridors or coastal, around lakes, whatever. So the biggest difference is they're not a true upland bird in the sense that if you have pretty dry upland forest, they're not going to be in there. But what's always attracted me to woodcock, and I think has general interest, is they're a migratory bird. So you all are seeing some of the birds that breed up in our neck of the woods. So they come there for the winter. So I'm always attracted to migratory birds because that gives me an excuse to go travel and follow them where they go. And then the other interesting aspect is from a habitat point of view, they require a lot of different things. So they require the sort of wet soils so they can probe like shorebirds do and get worms and other invertebrates. But they also require more opened areas nearby that are true uplands. They can be quite dry for roosting, especially late in the summer. And so the classic habitat management for a species like woodcock is more like grouse, in that you have to have a patchwork of wetlands as well as uplands, as well as some more forested edge kind of areas for female nesting. You need male peenting areas where they do their breeding display. So if you can provide all that within about a mile, then a male will be quite attracted to that. Females will be quite attracted to that. And that's pretty unique for forest management. Like if you're managing for deer, you've got a very different kind of prescription.
Yeah, very diverse. Sounds like
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
So, Bill, in all your years of bird hunting around here, have you encountered many?
Years ago, out on the old Succotanche Creek run that runs through Tox's place, we used to see a lot of wetland in there. We used to jump quite a few going in duck hunting, but we never shot them. We just kind of looked at them and let them go.
Yeah, look at that thing.
Yeah. So you mentioned roost. Do these birds roost on the ground?
Yep. Yeah, in your neck of the woods, they'd be around December, January, maybe early February, and then they'd start moving north. Maybe females would try to nest in your neck of the woods, and during that time, they require more open field areas for roosting. And why open fields? Because they're a pretty tasty treat for a lot of predators, and so they need to get out of the wetlands, especially the higher density areas where there's more carnivores that would consume them. And so they often congregate in pretty good groups. That's one of the best ways to catch them. When we were putting on transmitters down, it wasn't in Mississippi, but in Georgia, over in the Carolinas, we catch them all roosting in fields at night. You just go around and spotlight them, and then you catch them with hand nets.
Huh.
They talk about them being such a secretive bird. Are they loners or are they coveys? Do they run in coveys?
So they're a very secretive bird. They're very individual. The pairs, literally, they just reproduce. They mate, and then females are on their own. But they do tend to congregate at these roost periods. So when they're down in Mississippi, you would see a pretty good congregation. I wouldn't call it a covey, only because they're only there because it's probably a limited resource, and so they all kind of come together. It's not like they're communicating with each other in a flock that's trying to find a predator. It's more that they're just using the same area.
Yeah. Can you tell the difference in the male and the female when they flush?
The females are bigger, so they have this thing called sexual size dimorphism. So females are reverse sexual size dimorphism. So females are bigger than males. So if you get pretty good close and the bird flushes and it looks like a pretty big hen, then maybe. But most of the identification to gender is based on characteristics in the hand.
Wow. To actually mess around with your duck ponds, all that, do you ever encounter them?
Not much in recent years. Now, in the 80s and 90s, even 70s, quite a bit. And of course, we had bird dogs and bird hunting back then too. And they didn't hold like quail, but they would hold, and dogs would point them. And it would definitely test your marksmanship.
Scott, are you a bird hunter yourself? Do you travel around doing this?
Sure do. Yep. And they are a pretty challenging bird to get. The typical way that we hunt them is you have a really good bird dog that has the right scent, and they will hold nicely, and then you just tell the dog to flush the bird, and then it's up to you to figure out how good you are with the shotgun. That is actually the way we catch hens in or near the nest too. We get the bird dogs to point them, and then we actually go in before the dog flushes them and catch them with a hand net because they'll sit tight. They'll sit that tight.
Wow.
That's amazing.
They will. Sounds like they pretty hold pretty good.
So typically in a hunting scenario, it's just singles you're flushing.
Yep.
Wow. I can remember as a kid, my dad killed one when we were quail hunting one time, and it was just the oddest looking bird.
Yeah. It's like a shorebird.
Flushed just like a quail.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
Yeah. Well, tell us some of these birds have there's some unique characteristics. Can you tell us a little bit about a few of them?
Sure. So they are a shorebird. So they've got that long bill. One of the fun things I like to show the students is because we can get them in the hand, you can catch them in the spring when I'm teaching my wildlife field techniques class. So you can catch the males, especially when they're doing their breeding display. And if you hold the bill sort of halfway down, they can actually open, even though the middle of their bill is closed, they can open the tip of their bill fully open to grab stuff. So, it's basically an adaptation so they can stick their bill in the mud and then open it up to catch stuff that's as deep as their bill. So it's a pretty cool little morphological characteristic. They're super cryptically colored. I mean, literally, I have pictures right before we catch the hen where if I show you the picture, you'd be hard pressed to actually find the bird. They're so well camouflaged amongst the leaf litter. That's part of the reason why they have that behavioral adaptation where they just sit tight. They just wait. And at the last minute, if it's a dog or us, then they flush and surprise the heck out of you most of the time, because especially if you can't quite tell where they are, they can surprise you. The other aspects that are pretty unique is they have this reverse sexual size dimorphism. So females are bigger than males, which is really unusual in the bird world. Mostly males. All of our waterfowl have males bigger than females. It has to do with them being territorial and socially dominant, but it's just the reverse in species like woodcock. And then the most fascinating thing that we've recently discovered is when they're down in your neck of the woods, you'll have females that came from Rhode Island or generally the northern states, and they spend the winter there. And we always knew, and maybe you've heard this, like literally being in the field, the males will start peenting even in places like Mississippi and on the wintering areas. And then when they're peenting, they're making this little noise that's attractive to females. I find it kind of attractive, but for female woodcock, it's apparently quite attractive. And the peenting noise will allow the females to find the males, and if they're interested, they'll go find the male.
Just like a goblin turkey.
Yeah, no, it is.
We've got so.
Can you paint?
Let's be real quiet, Richie.
That's it.
Oh yeah. I have heard that a lot.
There was a good mini at Portland.
Yeah.
I was like trying to sneak up to a food plot late one afternoon after putting people out hunting and whatever, and they were. It sounded like
painting
when
everywhere.
You play. What's the old game that you try to operation,
yeah.
And if you hit the edge and that's exactly what it sounded like, and it was going on. I thought someone had been playing Operation around there somewhere. It was just kind of an it's almost almost an electronic sound.
Yeah, but then when they do that, so one of the fun things to do, and I would encourage anybody that's listening to do this. So the males normally do this right at dusk or dawn, and it's literally like you can time when they're going to start this on your watch. So in general, it's about 22 minutes prior to sunset.
Wow.
That's wild.
That's precise.
Just before sunrise. And they continue that for about 30 to 40 minutes. Okay.
Huh.
So if you go out at that time, you know it's going to happen, and you happen to be around a bird, it'll peent, it'll make that noise. And then it interrupts its peenting, and it does this aerial display where it literally takes off and does this big circle display way up high. And it's making a little whistling noise as it does that. It actually has modified outer wing feathers that are very small. And so it's making this little whirring noise by as it flies. And then when they get really high, they stop flying and they fold their wings, but they hold their outer primaries just outside, and they literally tumble down, and they make this different kind of whirring, whistling sound, and then they land right where they were peenting.
Huh.
So one of the activities I always have fun doing is you find a painting male right at sunset. And then as soon as he gets up to go display, you run over to where you think he was painting and then just sit there and be super still. And he'll come right back to where he was. And if you get really lucky, and this is the challenge for my students, I give them a 10-gallon hat. And I say, if you put this down and you can get that bird to land in your hat, you get, I forget what I give them, but
an A.
give it some extra candy.
It better be A+.
It's that dependable. And of course, they've evolved this because they're trying to attract females with all this. And if they keep coming down to the same spot and painting, the females will know where to come and get their copulation and then take off.
And they only do this during the breeding season, or do this every night?
So they'll stop during migration. They stop. So around us, where their primary breeding areas, they'll continue this until probably early July, mid-July, and then they'll just be roosting in fields and feeding during the day, and then they'll depart our area sometime in September, October, early November, and then they'll come down near you. Nobody's painting during this whole migration kind of time, and during the early winter they won't either. But they will start, I would guess, I've never been in your neck of the woods, but sometime in late January, early February. If you go out right at dusk, then you listen for these birds, and you'll hear them if they're there, because they're trying to start getting copulations. Okay, and what I was telling you the story about is so the males were always known to do this. So if I was down there with you all and we went out in late January and we could hear males, they're just trying to paint, and if there's a female around and they get lucky, great. And then they'll continue to do that as they migrate north. So all throughout spring, they'll leave Mississippi, they'll head up to Tennessee, spend a night, 2, 3, they'll do some more painting, and they'll continue to
Whoa, time out. Spell that.
P-E-E-N-T-I-N-G.
Yeah, P-E-E.
P-E-E-I-N-G? P-E.
N-T-I-N-G. Paint. That's the noise.
Okay, painting.
And I'm just using it in the plural.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just curious. It was going by so fast. I was painting or,
So they're trying to breed, copulate all the way back up, all through those different zip codes.
Well, yeah.
Why not? Sounds like Bobby was in college.
That was Roberto. That wasn't Bobby.
That's right.
Yeah.
So what we recently discovered is females are doing the same thing.
Huh.
So it was always thought that the males were doing it because, of course, they're just trying to get copulations. It's not very expensive. They can do the painting for 30 minutes every evening. No big deal. It's not very expensive.
Just think if you'd have known all this back then, Bobby.
Yeah.
Because, you did all that painting and never had a female interested in it,
Yeah. He should have moved around.
Yeah, he should have went north.
Right.
Yeah.
You should have learned to fly straight up in the air like that and, fall out of the air.
Definitely learned something today.
Yeah. So it turns out the females are doing the same thing. So females are actually trying to breed down in your neck of the woods first. And if they're unsuccessful, they lose their nest. They'll start migrating 600, 800 kilometers north, and they'll try again. And if they're unsuccessful, they'll try again. And we have birds that we marked down in Georgia that ended up in southern Ontario in their 6th nesting attempt. And they were finally successful. So it's an amazing strategy. There's about a handful of other birds on the earth that have this kind of breeding strategy where they're moving and they're reproducing and migrating at the same time.
So talk to me about the migration part, because I always assumed that they stayed solo to the ground. They were in cover. If you happen to flush one, they got up, went right back down. They didn't go far. And then for you to explain to us they do these massive migrations just blows my mind. They just seem like, so give us a little bit about the migration, because do they just migrate a little every day to travel, or do they get up high enough to go with the trade winds or whatever? Or how does that work? Because it's fascinating they would be a long migrator. You know?
It is.
Yeah, it is. And especially for a chunky kind of bird like that.
Yeah.
That doesn't look particularly good at flying. So they're the number one game bird that runs into buildings and gets killed.
Wow.
So they're migrating a lot. They tend to be attracted to light, and especially in the Northeast and down the Atlantic corridor, they go through, their migration corridor is mostly coastal. In our neck of the woods, they do migrate through inland areas too. But they're just like any migratory bird. They use photoperiod to tell them when they should start moving north or moving south in the fall. And they are unlike most other migratory ducks that we think about, in that their migration is we call it sort of stepwise. So they don't move that far each night, but they do migrate at night.
Wow.
And so they'll get up right at dusk. They'll try some peenting, usually for the males, and then they'll take off. And they'll go on average a couple 100 kilometers at most. And then they'll stop.
That's a pretty good piece. That's a lot further than I thought they would. Just,
Yeah.
Wow.
And they don't go that high. We just finished a collaborative study that shows that they're pretty vulnerable if you have wind farms. They don't fly so much higher than a wind farm.
I bet that's not good. Yeah.
So, and we know all this because we have, just in the last 5 years, the transmitter technology has just become fantastic.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
And so now we can figure out the altitude of a bird when it's flying. We could figure out exactly where it's stopping, how long it's been flying.
So like 100 kilometers in a night?
Yeah.
That's like, wow. So would one rest at all, or would just go straight fly 100 kilometers?
No, it would go, that's one flight.
Wow.
Richie, how many?
That's fascinating.
How many miles 100 kilometers is?
More than one.
I'm sure Dr. Scott knows
60 miles is 100 kilometers.
Oh wow,
That's a stretch.
yeah, it is.
Little stubby wing.
And they're doing it at night.
Yeah.
So you're saying that, and I follow some sites about how buildings are turning off. That they're learning to turn lights off on some of these larger buildings at night when birds are migrating. And you're saying that these birds they're attracted to the light, they'll run into the buildings?
Yep.
Well,
For some reason, they don't recognize the barriers as much. We get every winter, or late fall, we get window kills that are on our campus because the males and the females just sort of run into them. So the key thing is they're migrating at night. They are attracted to light, so they're vulnerable to window kills. They don't go far each night, so they're doing this hop and skip kind of migration. And what we discovered about the females was part of that migration does involve trying to nest as they're moving north. And if they're successful, they just stay put. If they aren't successful, they keep moving.
So it's entirely possible that a bird could be in Mississippi or Alabama, Georgia, and if it successfully mated, could stay here and raise the young right here.
You got it.
And would that particular bird, the same year round, if it didn't have a successful nest in Mississippi, move on up?
You got it.
Wow, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, he was saying one tried 6 different nesting attempts.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, it blew our minds the only reason why we could figure this out is because the transmitter technology allowed us to tell not only where it was stopping, but we could get its location in this case, it was about every 2 hours.
So are they eating earthworms?
Yep. That's their primary diet. The food habit studies that have been done show like 90% plus are earthworms.
So this dance can you talk to us about the dance and what's going on there and how they find these worms?
So I encourage you to go out again right at dusk because that's the most convenient time. I take community groups out. We usually encourage them to bring their flasks because we can sit in a nice easy chair because we can tell from the night before exactly where the males were going to be displaying. And if you have binoculars and it's a pretty nice moonlit night, you can literally see the males as they're starting to peent and then doing their aerial display and then come back down. And when they peent, they actually go in cardinal directions. So they start in one direction, then they'll turn 90 degrees, they'll peent again, turn 90 degrees, peent again, turn 90 degrees. And then once they do that a couple cycles, that's when they start taking off and reading their aerial display, and then they come back down. They're not feeding at all during this time. When they're feeding is during the other period of the day. They're constantly looking for feeding sites. And with these new transmitters, we can actually find out where they are almost every minute of the day if we wanted to. We do it about every hour. And those woodcock where they're feeding are incredibly small areas, like maybe 20 yards in circumference. And they're there for days and days and days and days and days. But then they'll move up and find their breeding site. So that'll be a different place. They'll go to an open field where they can do this aerial display. And then during the late summer, after they've stopped breeding, they'll go and find roost fields where they can congregate in groups and do that. But they're feeding by probing into the ground. That's why they need wet soils. And their primary prey currently, within the last 40 or so years, has been earthworms. The reason why I say currently is almost all of the earthworms that they're feeding on are introduced European species.
Wow.
And so we don't actually know what the heck they were doing before all these earthworms showed up.
Wait a minute.
Wait a dag.
Earthworms were brought here from Europe?
Europe?
Yep.
All earthworms?
Not all of them, but the vast majority, like if you take a shovel and you dig a hole and you find a bunch of earthworms, the vast majority of those earthworm species are introduced species.
Do we have a sound effect for mine being blown? I mean, because that's, yeah. Wow. And I was also reading, I think that the rhythm in which this bird walks, they believe can help, I guess, maybe call up the earthworms.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever seen robins do that. They kind of walk around and stop and kind of listen. Woodcock are doing the same kind of thing. But if you do a quick YouTube on looking for woodcock, it'll show you these weird dances where they sort of keep their head in one place and then they move their body and then move, and they're actually walking around, and it's quite popular to put some kind of disco music to it, and it's pretty fun.
I saw several of those.
Yeah, they have unusual behavior.
So where do you think what would they have been eating prior to that, to the Europeans introducing earthworms to us?
That's great.
Yeah, so we currently have a study in Rhode Island where we're trying to address that, because there are some places where we know there's a pretty good population of woodcock in the summer that don't have as many earthworms. And so we're actually collecting all the invertebrates in the soil. So we're actually going out with shovels and picking plots and sorting through them and finding all the stuff. And then you can use a fancy chemical technique called stable isotope analysis to just take a blood sample of the bird, and you know what the invertebrates are, and you can estimate what their diet is based just on that blood sample. So we'll be able to answer that, Bobby, is what I'm getting at, is we literally are picking areas where, what are they feeding on? How well are they doing in those places? Are they successful? And some of those, the vast majority of invertebrates that we're finding in those areas are native species. So at least we'll be able to address what might have been.
So are they opportunistic in terms of, if they walk into a shallow, so is there some water there and there's a bunch of little young tadpoles, would they eat those tadpoles?
Nope, never seen a tadpole show up in their diet. It's almost all soil invertebrates, which are pretty ubiquitous. I mean, we're kind of amazed at how much
is down
soil
there.
Invertebrates there are for them to feed on. There's a lot of grubs, basically like little caterpillar-like things that are larval forms of all these various kinds of inverts that we have.
I mean, if you think you go, we call them sloughs, low areas around here, and take a shovel to the edge of it and flip it over, and there's all kind of stuff crawling around in there lots of times.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but since they eat so many worms, are they, when you're hunting and you kill one of these, are they good to eat?
Yeah. I mean, people like to call it, people like to say it tastes like chicken, but it's a pretty earthy chicken.
Yeah. Is it, I guess would it be white meat, or is it a white meat on the breast?
My memory serve, I've killed quite a few when I'm in my teens and all, when I had bird dogs and bird hunted, and then even say maybe into my 20s. My memory serves me, they were delicious table fare, honestly.
Man, y'all got me fired up. I'm going to go find some of them. Yeah. And apparently they're difficult to hit.
I mean, yeah, they don't fly in a straight line, I can assure you.
Bobby, I know you're the quote guy. I know, but I have a quote here
Go ahead.
about it.
Please.
And it's by our buddy Aldo Leopold.
There you go.
Yeah. He said, a refutation of the theory that the utility of a game bird is to serve as a target or to pose gracefully on a slice of toast. In other words, I think he's referencing how tough they are to hunt. Is he not?
Well, yeah. But
Aldo Leopold was an avid woodcock hunter.
Yeah.
They're pretty common up in Wisconsin areas where he was spending a lot of time.
Interesting.
That's you know what? My mind keeps going back to these Europeans introducing earthworms. How in the
You can't
world
get off that, could you?
I mean, we've got earthworms everywhere. How did these worms traveling?
So I don't think fire ants were here either, were they? Or ants
No, they
weren't
weren't.
here.
Fire ants weren't.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the story is about how well they disperse. I don't think they disperse very far. It's because we move them around that they get around every place.
Everybody likes fishing. That's what
Yeah.
it is.
When they migrate, do they tend to go to the same places as they migrate back north?
Yeah, so if you read the literature, popular as well as scientific on this, it's a little confusing. So the reason why it's confusing is I know from studying woodcock for 15 plus years, we can catch the same males in the same exact places where they were peenting last year.
Mm-hmm.
But more common is I can find a male peenting in the same exact place and I catch it and it's not the same male.
So they're imprinting.
Yeah, and if you put together the pieces of, okay, they also have this breeding strategy where they'll move between nesting attempts. Yeah, they're Catholic about where, their migration trajectory and where they would stop maybe and where they'd like to breed and stuff like that. But given that they're willing to stop in the case of females and try to nest in Mississippi, and if they're successful, I'm a Mississippi bird this year.
Right.
But next year, if I'm not successful, I'm going to move up to Tennessee or into West Virginia. And then if I'm unsuccessful, I'm going to end up in Canada. There's a lot of tradition in where they go. But on the other hand, just because of that breeding strategy, they're not going to necessarily end up in the same place every year.
That's amazing. Are you familiar with? There's a guy that writes for our magazine. He's up in your part of the world. He's a retired game warden. His name is Tim Flanagan, and he's got a coffee table book called Grouse and Woodcock. He's got some fantastic photography in this book. But in preparation of this, he wanted me to ask you about, do you recommend eating the test and track on the woodcock?
What?
Yeah.
What is this
I don't know
about?
anybody who does. Whether I'd recommend it or not, probably not. Unless it probably tastes a heck of a lot like worms.
Yeah.
Are you talking about chitlins of the woodcock?
I guess so.
How'd you come up with that?
That was his question. He also wanted me to ask about the nerves in their feet and how that helps them locate worms, and can they actually smell the earthworms?
So they can. The sense of smell is pretty poor though in most birds and especially in shorebirds. So most of their adaptation for selecting prey is all about what they feel in the end of that bill. And it's tremendously innervated with nerves and muscles. That's what allows them to have sort of, they call it prehensile, in the sense that they can actually open it up without opening up the rest of their bill. It's not stiff. It's quite a soft tip to it.
That's pretty wild.
So I think most of their selection, they use their feet to sort of detect that there's things there, but then they use their bill to really finally decide whether whatever they find is something that's edible or not. So what I'm hoping is you understand how sort of understanding the basic biology of the birds relates to how we manage them.
Yeah.
So for instance, this whole breeding strategy, it blew our mind too, because one of the concerns was, how do we figure out harvest across a flyway for a migratory bird, right? If everybody's shooting them down south and the harvest is relatively more relaxed in the north, we might be negatively impacting populations because everybody's going down south and so forth and so on, right? So what this breeding strategy information told us was that this population of woodcock is is mixing a lot. We don't have a Mississippi population of woodcock or a Rhode Island population of woodcock. We've got birds that are intermixing throughout, right? And so it makes a big difference in how you manage a population like that, because it's not going to be really finely where we have to, it's not like Canada geese where we have to worry about over harvesting in certain portions of the flyway and stuff like that. So it's really changed how management of the population has sort of come to be. And I love the example of how an understanding of the basic biology sort of enlightened how we can manage that population.
So that's an example of science helping biologists determine harvest rates, and
it should always be science.
It just seems like that's just improving with all the new technology that's available for. Because these birds are so secretive. It's amazing to me that.
I mean, I didn't even understood that they migrated. I mean, you know, so obviously the impacts of how you manage a species when it's crossing state lines, and then on top of that, breeding all the way up and down. You know, how do you do that?
How do you manage that?
Yeah, that's wild.
Impossible.
Yeah.
So people like you that are studying these birds, are y'all? I don't think anybody. I'm not aware of anybody in the South that's managing habitat for woodcock. But are y'all managing habitat in your part of the world specifically for woodcock?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's what got us onto studying woodcock in the first place. We have a really strong collaboration between the university and our state agency, and they had a mandate to do some forest management. And woodcock are a perfect, we call them an umbrella species in wildlife circles.
Yeah.
If you manage for woodcock as an umbrella species, there's a bunch of other species that'll sort of come along with it.
Mm-hmm.
And especially for woodcock, because they require this different sort of mix of different kinds of habitats, it's especially nice because then songbirds that use upland areas and songbirds that are using more of the wetland areas both benefit from management for those. So it's really driven the 15 plus years of work that we've done. Is the application is, what does that mean in terms of creating patches of young forest, which is what they prefer for nesting? How dispersed do those need to be? How close to the wetlands do they need to be? You know, it's really directly tied to why we're studying woodcock and how the management occurs. It is the case, though, that the southern states are seriously working on management of habitat for woodcock too. Like we just started a new flyway wide project, and it's going to involve putting a ton of transmitters on birds in the South because they're interested in what kind of habitats they're using during winter so that they can manage for those populations. Because now we know that the population of the woodcock in the East are pretty much one big panmictic population. We need to figure out how to manage areas in the South where they go for the winter so that they can survive best. We can manage harvest appropriately, and then that will affect the population throughout the flyway.
When you say young forest, can you help describe that to us?
Yeah, so this is a forest that's somewhere between 5 and 30 years old.
Okay.
So literally up here, the way we do that is we cut the forest, essentially clear cut it in patches. And then we would call young forest that patch of ground until it's about 30 years old.
Early successional, once again.
That's right.
Early successional habitat. And then does it, the mix of species in that, is there a specific indicator about that, or could it be pines, or does it need to be a hardwood mix, or?
Well, the perfect is softwood mix.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But down in your neck of the woods, it might be more pine rather than up near us. It's birch and aspen. That's their preferred areas for nesting. I don't honestly know as much about your neck of the woods as far as what species mix of plants you'd want to have. The key thing is they need really high, what we call stem density.
Okay.
So literally, if you try to put your hand through the patch, it should be really hard to do because they're just a ton.
And some of our forests at 30 years old are going to be, way more open than that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it might even need to be younger down here.
Yeah, it might be. It might very well be.
So Scott, we're all very passionate turkey hunters, and we have learned how difficult it is for a hen turkey to nest and raise.
Mm-hmm.
Do the woodcock experience the same troubles?
Yes. So they're another ground nester. They're another upland game bird species that nests on the ground, and there's a lot of predators around.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why they've evolved this strategy of multiple nesting attempts, right? If not only can the female, in the case of a turkey, she can nest 1 or 2 or maybe 3 times if she's unsuccessful in her first nesting attempts. And the unique thing about woodcock is they've evolved the same thing. They get hit a lot. Our estimates of nesting success in our neck of the woods is about 10%.
Oh, wow. That's about 90%. Yeah.
So they've evolved this capacity to re-nest because they lose their nests often. But it's what? Oh, sorry.
They cut his power off.
Yeah.
Pay your bills.
They decided to put a sensor that turns off my lights every 30 minutes unless I move.
Oh, wow.
Standing here chatting, it doesn't work.
Well, that Bobby,
anyway, what I was
many
gonna say
naps as
was-
you take, that'd probably be.
I'd wake up in the dark.
We'd save some money.
Yeah.
So anyway, the unique thing about woodcock is they have the same strategy, but they've decided to migrate at the same time between nesting attempts, which is pretty damn costly. I mean, that's not an easy thing to do. And
Right.
we
On their body.
estimated that there's less than 6 species of birds on Earth that have done this.
And how many eggs will a typical hen lay?
4. They're like a shorebird in that respect. They lay 4. Second, third nests might be 3.
I was going to ask about that. If it kind of fell as they nested again.
From time to time, I think I'm seeing snipe, and I think I'm
Oh,
seeing
yeah.
woodcock.
I think you read my
yeah.
questions.
Oh, yeah.
What is the difference between a woodcock and a
Well,
snipe?
the sniper is pretty good bit smaller.
Yeah, they are. And we get them up here too. We get Wilson snipe.
Yeah.
And their life history is very unknown, but they move around about the same time of the year that we see them. They go further north to breed for us. But they're another shorebird that has foregone the coast. It's those 2 species are actually the 2 that are most common in North America that have decided to not be real true shorebirds. They no longer use the coast.
Yeah, I see a lot of snipe and then some woodcock today if we drain one of these duck ponds right when the season's over. So it's February. And the season stays open till
Into January.
Yeah,
That's what MDWFP says.
I thought the season stayed open on into February. I think.
Here, December 18th to January 31st. Daily limit 3, possession limit 9.
On woodcock.
Yes, sir.
What about snipe?
Snipe, November 14th to February 28th.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
makes more sense.
Yeah.
And then daily limit of 8, total possession of 24.
But makes sense that it exposed a lot of worms and stuff.
Probably did. Mm-hmm. So Scott, if you went bird hunting on a Saturday afternoon or a Saturday and there in Rhode Island, what's a limit of birds, and would you expect to kill a limit?
You'd have to walk around a lot to get your limit. It's 4 birds, but you can, because you're going to be shooting individual birds, right? They're not going to be congregated.
Yeah.
The only time they'd be congregated is after dark, when you're not allowed to shoot. But yeah, I mean, it's fairly common for people to get their limit within a day if they're wanting to be out that long.
How about that?
Yeah. And I'm hearing a lot of our quail guys are really picking up woodcock now here in the South. That's something to work their dogs.
Yeah, but they don't hold like quail quite. But I look at Mr. Bill on this one. But you would think a really good, well-trained, close-working like flushing dog would be very useful. Mm-hmm. Like a lab that's trained to flush stuff. And because as I remember when I've run into them a lot when I bird hunted all the time, they did not hold real well. They would somewhat, but not like quail.
So if you had a pointer that had been working quail all of his life and he encounters a woodcock, is he going to point that woodcock?
I would think so.
Mine did back in the day.
And what would you just like work or walk like the ecotone between the water and the forest? I mean, what are you working edges? I mean, I was just wondering.
It's a lot of edges.
A lot of edges. Yeah.
Yeah. And then through the fields, because by the time you get to October, November, they're going to be in roost fields in the later part of the day.
Just on the ground.
Yeah. So then you can actually work the fields. And around us, the way they manage those fields is they actually they cut lanes through the field. So there's a shorter and a deeper area within the field, and the birds really like those shorter spots.
Oh yeah.
So you can tell the dog to work those in particular.
Kind of like a hub and spoke, I guess, something like that.
Yeah. It's really interesting, and it's such a complex little bird. Mm-hmm. And the whole.
I guarantee you, Dabs has some of them.
Probably.
Yeah. Sorry.
What states are like key woodcock hunting areas? I hear Louisiana is a popular one.
Yeah. Both North and South Carolina are some of our key collaborators on this new wintering woodcock project. And then the upper Midwest, the Michigan, the Wisconsins, Minnesota, that's like the breadbasket for woodcock. And then Maine is sort of really well known too, because there's a lot of forest management. There's a lot of forest companies that are still doing a lot of forest management. And so the abundance of birds is just that much better.
And Mr. Bill, you've been over in England, and they've got it woodcock over there, don't they?
Yeah, but every time I go over there, they have not migrated from Norway across to the UK. So we didn't get to shoot any, but we were talking about intestines. I was always told over there that they cook the whole bird.
Is that right?
Yeah. And I don't know that to be a fact, but that's what I was told, that they don't pull the intestines. They pull the feathers and cook the whole bird.
That sound right, Scott?
I've never talked to anybody from Europe that has shot and eaten woodcock. It's a different species. It's the Eurasian woodcock, but they're very similar in many of the ways that we've been talking about today.
Mr. Bill, I think they're trying to pull the wool over your eyes over there.
I don't think so.
Well, it's weird, ironic that you asked a question about intestines.
Yeah. Well, it's that Tim was prompted by something for me to ask that question.
Yeah.
Bobby, it sounds like the way you eat your brim.
Yeah.
Could be.
Fry the whole thing and eat it all.
And put it in a sandwich.
What do you call that? A fish sandwich.
Yeah. So look, I've got a quote too.
Oh.
And I thought this quote would represent our guest. Because I feel like he fits this. So my quote is, this is from 1938, a guy named Burton Spiller. He says that I'm aware that a number of conservative citizens in my community look upon me as a fit candidate for an asylum. They argue, and perhaps rightly, that any middle-aged man who spends 2 months a year in chasing a bird dog around the woods has something far more serious the matter with him than mere eccentricity.
Yeah.
I feel like that's probably you, Scott.
Yeah. Why the heck have I been chasing them around for 15 some years, right?
That's right.
Yeah. What kind of dogs are you running?
So I don't have a dog, but when we did the nesting study, we worked with a dozen or so dog owners. Most of them were dog trainers, all upland game bird hunters. And we had the full diversity. We had Brittany's, we had German Shorthairs, we had Labs. All of them seemed to have just as good of a nose, but they were all trained on woodcock, and they were uncannily good at finding nests. We did this like in March, April, early May, when birds are nesting up near us.
What are we not asking, Laney? Is there anything?
Interestingly enough, I'm just kind of thinking about, and it would be, I don't know how much he could help us, but how to, like prime habitat around here is keep going through my mind, like how to walk and find them. So I don't know, really.
Pretty thick around here where I have flushed them.
Yeah, I think about those edges, those sweet gum edges and everything else next to water.
And it's just something we're not thinking about. Right. Actually, you're managing ducks and around there, but they're the beneficiary of a lot of the work that you're doing.
Go out there.
Yeah, what about fire? Does fire, burning forests help?
Yep.
Okay,
because that can create just as much early successional young forest areas.
Everything goes back to
species
that
composition of the plants
a
little bit. But so the only thing that I'd say that we haven't talked about as far as habitat management, when we help the state decide where to create young forest, we use the river corridors and the wetlands as sort of the centering spot to decide then where nearby we can create young forest. And you'd need to do the same thing wherever you are. including where you guys are.
Yeah.
So, you can't just go out and create an early successional plot in the middle of a forest because it's just not going to be used. So
Right.
as long as you have within about a mile of that young forest patch, some kind of wetlands that'll provide attractive feeding areas, then that's what you need.
Yeah, I mean, and we have a lot of wetlands. I mean, so it should be some prime habitat down here for them.
Scott, we would probably trade you a weekend woodcock hunt for a weekend turkey hunt up there in Rhode Island. If you wanted to pull that off.
Always going there.
It always ends up there. He's agenda driven.
Oh, did we lose him?
Yeah, so it has become very popular for out-of-staters to come and shoot our turkeys.
Chasing 49? Or is it 49?
You know, that's what I do, by the way, when he hits me up for another turkey hunt. I kind of act like I lost. Well, hello, Bob.
We're breaking up.
Yeah, breaking up on me, Bob.
That's right.
Yeah, we lost you there for a second, Scott. I don't know if you did that on purpose or what.
That was a wise move, nonetheless.
That's right.
Oh, me. All right, Scott, we have got a trivia question that we created for you. Richie, why don't we turn it over to you? What we got?
All right, today's trivia is brought to us by.
Well, our friends at the Peanut Pack.
That's right. Yeah. Do you have boiled peanuts up there?
Oh, the only reason why I do is I have 2 grad students from Louisiana.
All right. They know what it's all about. Then.
But it's a pretty small group of people that have them.
All right.
All right, so our listener who left a review, come on, hunting, left a review. These guys are like sitting on the front porch shooting the breeze at Octock Road after class.
Wow.
I have learned so much listening to these guys.
Well, that's a little bit of bulldog reference in there. That Knoxville
Octock
Refuge, yeah.
Yeah.
Toxie, I bet you've hung out on Octock Road at some
A
point.
time or two.
I have. I know Dudley had. He's on like Knoxville tree board or something, isn't he?
Yeah,
Something.
nice the refuge, yeah.
Yeah, there is.
So we're going to go with this question here. It kind of almost got answered a little bit, but so here we go. What is the single longest recorded American woodcock migration track, including stops? I'm sorry, it's multiple question, a multiple choice here. Sorry. So A, 850 miles, B, 1,200 miles, C, 1,600 miles, or D, over 2,000 miles.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be the last one. So the longest that I know of is from Georgia, southern parts of Georgia, up to southern parts of Ontario.
Okay.
So that's probably around 1,600.
That's close, but Google, as we say, says that the longest recorded was 2,050 miles from a female woodcock traveling from Alabama to Manitoba.
Wow.
Well, Georgia to Ontario.
Yeah,
That's the same thing.
I mean, that's still close.
I
yeah,
think so, too.
So,
Yeah.
What is
Well, I'll remember that now. So the next person who asks me, I'll give the correct answer.
Yeah. Well, Scott, and to wrap up, these birds are something special. What do they mean to you? What got you interested in them?
Yeah, so I study migratory birds at large. And when we were chatting with our state agency folks about what their priorities were, and forest management came up and wildlife, that was the first one that came to mind. And I've been really glad that we chose woodcock because they've been a pretty fun species to work with. Every few years we get surprises.
Yeah.
Now that the technology's caught up with us and we can actually answer some of the questions we wish we could have at the start. So yeah, it's just one of those fascinating secretive species that people love to learn about. And it's more fun than I can imagine taking a bunch of folks out right at sunset. And all of a sudden they're hearing something that they never had heard before. And we can tell them all about what they're hearing and they get to see the breeding display. It's pretty fascinating stuff.
I'm going to start listening for that pink.
Well, as soon as Richie played it, I mean, I know I've heard.
Oh, I've heard it a bunch.
A bunch.
Play it
I
again,
didn't,
Richie.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I'm telling you, go get your operation game and just touch the side
That makes
there.
sense.
Yeah. And then 22 minutes before sunset.
It's almost electronic sounding, yeah.
Yep. 22 minutes. So literally just go out 30 minutes or so, get your easy chair, sit on the edge of a field, and see if there's a woodcock around, because they'll tell you they are.
And that's any time of year.
No. Just, I'm not sure exactly in your neck of the woods, but ours start in late February and continue until May.
So early spring.
No, but when I had the memory I have of hearing a lot of them, like at Portland, it was in deer season.
Would make sense. Late deer season down there.
That'd be late January probably.
Yeah, but it's warm down. I mean, that was
yeah.
South Alabama.
And how far? I mean, is 100 yards about? What's the distance you can hear them doing this?
Now you can hear it within 100 yards.
Oh, yeah.
We have driving routes that we take and just listen for them.
Let's play it again, Richie.
Oh, yeah.
Electronic sounding.
Definitely heard
Yeah.
that a lot.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've enjoyed this, Mr. Bill. You got any more questions?
No, not really. I do have one. Do you find that it's better to use pointers when you're looking for the birds, or flushers like a lab, or
The pointers have a little more endurance,
a lot more?
and are at least the ones we were working with don't mind at all pushing through that really high stem density young forest kind of areas. So my favorites were the Brittany's that were just amazing.
Mhm.
What they were willing to push through and help us find nests.
A smaller dog
Mm-hmm.
makes it easier for them to push through. A flusher would tend to flush the bird before you got to it. So would it be better to
Yeah.
use
Yeah,
pointer?
no, you need to have a dog that'll point
Yeah.
and hold that bird.
Labs a flash point. When they run up on a bird, they'll flash point, and you can extend that flash point to where they're full pointers, but not many people
Yep.
do that.
One of my friends has both a pointer and a lab and loves to go out woodcock hunting with both of them, because the pointer will find the bird and point to it, and then the lab goes, "Oh, that's where it is," and just comes in and flushes the thing out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we call that a strike dog. Yeah, when the quail hunting, the pointer points, and you send your strike dog in to flush.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's
Well-
seen it all.
So anybody listening to this that's curious, you can go. So Scott McWilliams has got a lab, and it's McWilliamsLab.com. So you can look at some of the research that he's been doing. It's really an interesting site. And gosh, we appreciate you joining us.
Yeah.
And
It
I'm
was a
sure,
pleasure chatting with you.
Yeah.
I appreciate your interests in this interesting secretive bird.
yeah,
It is.
we need to send Richie and embed him with you guys when you're doing some of the study over in Georgia.
Yeah,
and
that's
South
exactly what I
Carolina.
was thinking when he was mentioning the work they're doing. That'd be great. Yeah.
Over there learning to paint.
Yeah. That'd be great to get some of that dance on footage.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Would be cool.
Well, and like I said, we're going to be catching birds down in the south as part of this new wintering woodcock project. So there might be some opportunities to go out and catch birds too.
Well, we'll get y'all connected.
Yeah, that sounds great.
We'll certainly do that. Well, Scott, we appreciate you being here, and guys, we thank you for listening to our podcast. We certainly appreciate it. Laney, there's one thing: the Gamekeeper calendar right now. You can go to Tractor Supply.
Pick it up. There's a
And-
Mossy Oak calendar too.
It's such a great calendar,
It's
and the
beautiful.
camo calendars
Yeah,
there
the
as
camo
well.
calendars too.
So, if you're like me, I'm an old school calendar guy. I want to hang something up on the
Yeah,
wall.
we're trying to get you to use Outlook, but it's just tough. He loves you can just pencil out and writing on that.
Nothing wrong with old school.
Yeah, Toxie, you still use an old calendar?
Somewhat, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't make myself.
Don't forget, 400th episode giveaway still going on. We've already had, 15, 20, 30 winners? How many we had?
bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a total over 100 prizes given out, so going all the way to March.
Going
So
all the way to March.
If you haven't signed up yet, go ahead and sign up. You
Yep.
know, it's going on every day. So, and your name stays in the hat all
That's
the way.
right. All the
way
guys that already won are still in the hat for the grand prize from Rate. So everybody get signed up.
That's right. And the good news now, guys, if you don't have the outdoor channel, but you've got the sportsman's channel for the next 6 months,
Yep.
You'll be able to see Bobby.
the Gamekeeper television show.
that's
is
right.
on the
On the Sportsman's channel.
That's
That's
right.
right. I don't know the time, so we'll figure that out.
Yeah, that's right.
So this has really been interesting. Scott, thank you so much. Tox, you got anything to add? You look like you're ready to go duck hunting or something.
That'd be good.
It would be good.
That'd be
Close.
real good.
Yeah. All right. Why don't you say goodbye, Lanny?
Goodbye, Lanny.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Gamekeeper Podcast, and be sure to tune in again. Subscribe to Gamekeeper Farming for Wildlife magazine and don't miss the Mossy Oak Properties Fistful of Dirt podcast with my good buddy, Ronnie Cuz Strickland.